What's going on, crazy world? Welcome to another episode of the Black Sheep Perspective. I got a returning guest here, man. That he was one of my first guests, one of my favorite guests, and we maintained a friendship for quite a long time. I think it's been over 3 years, maybe 3.5. He was one of my very first, and I owe a lot to those people who helped me grow the platform. He's been doing a number of great things, an amazing fighter, fighting overseas, has a big fight coming up. We're going to talk all kind of details, a veteran in the game, very well known in Miami and beloved in Miami, even though his hometown is Chicago, Chi-Town. Welcome to the podcast, Jose Shorty Torres, my brother.
Well, I appreciate it, man.
Good to have you back, homie. Good to have you back, bro.
Oh, I try my best. It's nice to be here because every time I come back, everyone's always just like, Shorty, let's do this. Shorty, let's do that. The only problem is most of the time it's come to my gym so I can beat you up.
Yeah. Speaking of beating up and all that, I had the privilege. It was so fun to watch you guys bang last weekend. Shout out to the Goat Shed and shout out to Asim. And of course, big shout out to Jillian Roberson, the Savage. She's got a big fight coming up. You guys tune in, Miami tune in, South Florida tune in. She got a big fight coming up. He brought everybody. I thought he was only gonna bring Savage.
Me too.
I thought he was, and I heard you were gonna be there, but it wasn't for certain yet. And then I was going with Loxby, and anyhow, before you know it, the whole fucking Goat Shed showed up.
I rented a car.
It was like 13 people, bro.
I rented a car just to go because I'm staying in Parkland. That's like an hour and a half. Oh, even just coming here was about 2 hours.
Right.
So having to rent the car just to go see everyone at I think we went to UFC Kendall.
Kendall, right.
And dude, he walked in. I was like, oh man, they're running a little bit, late. They're running on Cuban time. And out of nowhere, it was just a gang of people coming through. I was like, oh, okay, cool. We're all here.
Dude, and it was so fun. I've never seen, I see the highlights, I see the videos. I train several Goat Shed fighters. We talked about that earlier. I do striking with them. And they tell me, the stories, and I see the video clips, but seeing it live, seeing these guys go at it live, it's just, they're all good. They're all really good. They're fast. They all have their their specialties, and you know what's coming. And I got my little homeboy Loxby telling me, get ready, this one does this one does that. And sure enough, my highlight was to watch you go against Roy, which was just, dude, I'll pay for that. I don't want to see you guys fight because, you guys are great teammates and friends and whatever, but that's pay for type fights right there, dude.
Roy and then Luis, the wrestler.
The wrestler.
I think he took second in nationals in Cuba, and all he did was shoot. So it's like Roy being more.
And he's strong, and the wrestler was strong. I saw that.
He's a featherweight too, so he just walked in thicker than me, bigger than me. And just stylistically, this is my first week back in the training camp. So I'm like doing my training camp to get into training camp, if that makes sense.
Right, yeah, of course.
And, Roy, we just get to play around, we move, the 5Ds, the dodgeball, we're doing all the things. Yeah. But then Luis, I'm just going to shoot the whole time. Throw a haymaker, shoot. Yeah. Haymaker, shoot. And I'm like, I got to sweep him. I got to do this. I got to do that. Because if I ended up on the ground, it's funny. I sparred with him on Thursday. I sparred with him 2 days ago. And he took my notes and used them against me, and he did finally get me down a couple of times. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this guy's so strong."
Well, but props to him because that's a great strength to pick something up so quick that somebody suggests, or you saw that it worked on you, a stud Roman Greco wrestler. Why not apply it back? You know, so that's awesome. But yeah, that was a fun time, and bro, no bullshit. I told you there. I told you again when we spoke later on. I'll tell you right now, dude. You look good. You looked fucking good, bro. And all the boys were talking about it, man. While you were in there with somebody, everybody was like, "Oh, look, Jose keeps going. He keeps going. Shorty don't stop. He doesn't stop. He's got a cardio tape forever." Then, almost a sweep. Almost another sweep. And you do these quick sweeps in the middle of exchanges. It's impressive, man. It looks like you've been working on those fucking sweeps, but then again, I've never seen you do them like that. I don't know.
Well, you haven't technically seen me spar. I think that was the first time.
No, I haven't. Only your fights. That's it.
For me, I'm big on Muay Thai. And the only reason, so when I was it's my third year in college, I went down to McKendree University, but before I went to that university, we did a national tournament to see who was going to be the national team member to go, I believe, to Brazil for the Pan American Games for Muay Thai. I fought some guy that was 6'2", at 135 pounds. I should have gone down to 125. But I lost because I didn't throw enough knees. I was able to clock him, do all these things. Actually, he's down here now, Joseph Mueller. Super tall guy, great Muay Thai star. But he technically beat me in the Muay Thai game. So I lost a split decision. And then when I went down to school there, I was like, hey, you're in the neighborhood, right? He goes, yeah. Could I train at your gym? And it was all Muay Thai. I'm a small guy, so Muay Thai is technically supposed to be my kryptonite. Boxing, they say put your head at center, pick the side, do this, do that. you put your head at center, and in Muay Thai, they're just going to clinch and start kneeing you. So for me, being the wrestler, I was like, if I'm going to get kneed, I'm going to have to do something to take you off of center. So I started learning sweeps. Now down there, he was technically the smallest guy by the weight. Everyone else was his height, but they were 185 pounds, 205 pounds, heavyweights. And I'm like, I have no choice but to spar with these guys. And so doing so made me a lot better with those sweeps. And obviously going with guys my size, it's a lot easier to just, okay, cool, I can manipulate them.
Of course, right. So, and again, I'm very humble of you to want to go seek his help after you saw, what happened in you guys' fight. And yeah, that's great. That's a great thing that fighters should do more often. I was watching some interviews earlier, and they were interviewing GSP and asking him about how he felt with the whole anger thing when he fought somebody. How did he generate that focus? Were you angry? Was there real beef? He's GSP was a machine. He really was obsessive about who he was fighting. It was never a personal thing. It was personal with him as in, like, I have to defeat this guy. But it was never talk it up, beef, all that. And, you've never been that guy. You've never come off like that guy. And I think that radiates. Everybody knows you're all positive energy, man. So
I try my best to be, at least to the outside, where I try to be the light inside the room. That no matter what, I might be the smallest guy coming in, but you'll notice me. No matter what, you're going to notice me, and you're going to want to be around me, because hopefully it is positive energy, or at least some type of motivation to hang out with me.
That's good, man. Keep that up, because it's. I always say that I have a big radar for energy. I can really sense energy, no matter what level it is, and I don't know how I'm good at it. I don't know how I accumulated that. I don't even know if it's real. I think it is. And I definitely sense your energy. Well, you saw, right? When I saw you, we were like 20 feet apart. We were going like two little butterflies.
I haven't seen you in like 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we crossed paths a couple of times during certain fights, because you do commentating for Titan when you're in town.
I get hit in the head a lot, so I forget
as well. Yeah. But I saw you. Well, you were busy that day. You were running back and forth. You were on the mic real quick. What we did was always keep in touch, and that was a good thing. I mean, I've even I'll give you a shout out. I remember you're in the middle of commentating during fights on UFC Fight Pass. And I'm texting you. Yeah. I'm texting you saying, hey, some. And you answer me right back during the fight. I'm like, oh, Shorty, he knows how to, he definitely knows how to multitask.
I was like, I don't know if I'll be professional, or I'm like, well, I'll get to you real quick.
Yeah. No, you're definitely really good at calling fights. That's something that you do as a side thing. Do you see yourself trying to pursue that more in the future?
Well, that was my goal before I was released to the UFC. I was like, you know what, let me be signed to them. I see Paul Felder, Dominic Cruz,
right.
DC, all these guys slowly transitioning to this. This is what I want to do. I can speak well. My mom put me in acting classes when I was a kid, so she always put me in front of the camera, or even put me on stage. I remember doing a speech. I was in 7th grade in front of like 2,000 people, nonchalant, just kind of like whatever. My mom's like, that's impressive.
Right.
So for me, when it comes to on-the-spot moment where it's not scripted, I can wing it and have some fun. And I've also played both roles, play-by-play and color commentator for Titan FC, where I'm either taking the lead or just kind of following and talking about what I see. So it's been a lot of fun. I'm hoping that's what I do when my career is over. But until then, I'm just doing these little jobs to keep me consistent, to where I can still focus full-time on my MMA career.
So let's talk about the MMA career. When I last saw you, you had a championship fight coming up.
I think it was for Titan, yeah. Or no, that was that for Brave? That was, damn, that was 3 years ago.
That was for Brave. Yeah, it was for Brave. By the way, what country is that?
So it's based out of Bahrain, and it's they call it the Pearl of the Desert. It's literally the smallest island in the Middle East. So if you have Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain is like next to Qatar. It's like the smallest little thing. I believe there's a bridge connecting Qatar and also the Kuwait.
They seem like very big for a small area. Are they like UFC like, but just for those countries or for those surrounding countries?
Bahrain, before the laws changed in Saudi Arabia and some of the other countries surrounding, like Qatar, having the World Cup there, Bahrain is kind of like, I wouldn't say it for sure, but it's like the mini Vegas of the Middle East. Before Abu Dhabi and Dubai became super popular.
Right.
That's kind of it's also a very liberal place. The military base is there. You have Brazilians there. You have Americans. You have so many, because there's so much military. So right when you walk in, the main street in Jafar is called, next to the base, it's called American Alley. McDonald's, KFC, all the American fast food restaurants.
American Alley.
So you go to the Middle East, at least in Bahrain, everyone speaks English for the most part. There's a lot of Americans there. It's very liberal, very free compared to our stereotype of, the women are always in black thobes and, the women can't do stuff or the guys can only do this and do that. So it's a very free place. I believe you can drink in Bahrain as well compared to Kuwait and Qatar and Saudi. It's illegal.
To drink at all?
Mm-hmm. You can drink.
Not even Bahrain. A man?
You can. So in Kuwait, you can drink, but only on the base. So if you're military, you can drink, but only on the base. You can't take it outside. But
so
in Bahrain,
so
it's perfectly legal.
So alcohol in general is just illegal in the country?
In Kuwait and I believe Saudi Arabia still.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You mentioned the word stereotype, and we were talking about it right off camera before we started. There's stereotypes out there that are just so inaccurate, and one of those stereotypes is against men, and not just that, but maybe generalizations. I don't want to say stereotypes, but fighters. People don't understand what fighters go through. I mean, and there's a multitude of levels of what fighters go through. They're chasing this dream, they're chasing this goal, this championship. You're chasing UFC because, it's the top dog of them all. Yeah. Even though you love fighting for other organizations, everybody knows UFC is the top dog. If you're a true competitor, you want to go against the best. The majority of the best is in the UFC. The majority. Excuse me. And so people don't understand the pressures. When you're trying to balance out life, you're trying to balance out relationships, you're trying to balance out you're going through these up and down emotional roller coasters because you're depleted, you're fatigued, you're sore, you're injured, you're not sure about a fight, or you're not sure if you can make. Just a lot to it. And I know that one of those, you got tested very, very immensely after our podcast. And it's, and I'm sorry to bring it up. I know we talked about it, but, I think it's something that will teach a lot of people out there as to what not just men, but fighters go through. And I think it'll be inspiring to people out there, somebody who might want to hear it. On our podcast, if you guys want to check it out, go down into the page. It's one of the very first ones.
Probably the third one.
Yeah, like third or fourth, seriously. You were praising your dad. You were talking about your dad and how he was tough. He was tough, but you knew why he was tough. You knew how he was tough on you and your brother. You and your brother are like besties. I love it. You guys had the best relationship.
Fucking hate him.
And but you said it was good for you. And then finally, he saw what it did for you, and then he was becoming one of your best supporters and so on and so forth. And then unfortunately, I think it was a few days later after our podcast and you went back to Chicago, he passed away. Yeah. And again, my condolences. I know we've spoken about this many times. You seemed to get through it as strong as possible, and I'm sure you had your weak moments behind curtains, behind doors, to your family, to loved ones, to whoever was, gave you that shoulder that you felt that comfortable with. But you kept on with a fight that was lined up, the championship fight that we were talking about it. And I think that fight might have been 5 to 6 weeks out after your dad's passing.
It was 3 weeks out.
3 weeks out. Yeah. Yeah, that makes more sense, right? And you were definitely going to try to tough it out. And I'm pretty sure you felt good and everything. Well, lead us through that, because I know that you got all the way up into getting to the country, and I think it was a couple days before, 3-4 days before, and I'm assuming you had some emotional, some mental breakdown. Can you walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah. So to start this off, my big thing, and we talked about it off air, is I lost the 3 biggest things that I have ever wanted in my life. We all have goals, and for me, I pursued the things, and sadly, all of them I got them, and then they were gone. Instead of like becoming a champion and then staying the champion for a good reign. I was like, oh, touched it. All right, there goes everything. So for me, I had the UFC career. I was like, oh, I'm finally in the UFC, given I got signed to a dying weight class. But then when I finally lost after a 33-fight winning streak, I was cut. But then I was demoralized by the UFC, blacklisted. Even if I try to sign and re-sign with them today, they're not interested whatsoever. I can beat everyone, doesn't matter. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, in my head at the time, especially being an American, what we see is UFC. Bellator's number 2, these other promotions are number 3, 4, and it just kind of goes down the list.
Right.
Brave is still very brand new. I signed with them in 2018, right after I got released. I fought Amir Albazi, which is right now ranked number 3 in the world. I'm his only loss.
He just fought Kiara.
Yeah, Kai Kara France.
Right.
And the crazy thing is he actually hit me up when I was in Vegas. We trained under the same team now at Extreme Couture. And he's like, hey, brother, you want to work? I'm like, yeah, as long as you don't have any hard feelings. I mean, obviously, I don't. I'm the one that won.
Right.
So he had no hard feelings. And I was like, dude, you got a lot stronger. You got better. And, I gave him some notes. And, I mean, he obviously took what he did with it. And, he won. So I'm very, very happy for him. But, talking about that from earlier conversation. But I beat him, and I wasn't mentally happy in that fight. You know, I felt like I could have finished him, but again, it is what it is. I won by decision. And in my head, I was like, man, I'm fighting for, even though I was happy to be signed with Brave, I'm fighting for a promotion that I don't want to fight for. My goal is the UFC. Everything else behind that, I'm just like, I could be making $1 million. I'm just like, I wanted to fight for the UFC. So, very unfair treatment. Fight for Brave, win that fight. Then I'm supposed to fight for the world championship for the flyweight division. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to fight a guy named Marcel Dur, very good Brazilian, which I actually have no clue what happened to him after that. I think he ended up tearing his ACL and kind of disappearing from the face of the earth. But I'm getting ready for the fight, and I'm actually traveling to Abu Dhabi to commentate for Brave. But in the process, I was also going to promote my fight, and that's why I was commentating, be inside the cage, do this, Shorty towards this, Shorty towards that. And because of the airlines, I ended up missing my flight in Rome. They're like, oh, don't worry, we moved to the next flight. It's in 12 hours. I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to just travel Rome. So I'm going through, the city of Rome, having a good time. That day is my father's birthday. So I'm like, oh, I'm not there for my father's birthday, but after I'll go back home at least for a couple days and we'll figure it out, or even after the fight. And I spend the whole time in Rome before I call my father because of the time difference. And then right before I have to head back to the airport, I'm like, okay, well, let me call my dad. We have a good 30-minute conversation. And I'm like, hey, I love you. I miss you. And, I'm glad you're having a good time. I wish you were here because one of the movies we used to watch together, Bruce Lee movie, was Return of the Dragon.
Right.
Where he fought Chuck Norris in the Coliseum, or at least the painting of the Coliseum in the background. So I was like, yo, the Coliseum is a real thing. I'm walking through the thing. I'm like, man, this reminds me of when we used to watch this movie.
Right.
And so I'm like, oh, it's awesome. Called my dad. Even made it like a Instagram post about him. Happy birthday, yada, yada, yada. Get on my train, which they put me on the wrong train. So I missed my flight again. So I had to wait another 12 hours.
Damn.
And so I'm like, fuck, it's the middle of the night and nothing's open in Rome, at least at the airport. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to leave the airport. I'm just going to sleep on the floor here and figure it out. I go, cool. I have time now. Let me call my dad. It's maybe, midnight in Rome. It's maybe, 6 p.m. or something like that in Chicago. So I was like, let me call my dad. I call and my brother picks up the phone crying. Like, oh my God. I was like, what? Like, what? That kid's like hysterically crying. Like, what's up? Relax. He goes, Dad just passed out. He was on the floor. I don't know what happened. I'm like, and my degree was pre-med. So like, yo, at least tell me what's up. And the way he was telling me, I was like, I'm pretty sure he maybe had a heart attack. My dad's always had heart pain every once in a while. So I was like, first thing I think of is heart attack. And so he passed out. They ended up taking him in the ambulance. And my brother's like, well, I'll give you a call when I'm at the hospital. I'm like, all right, cool. Now I'm in panic mode at this airport. And I'm just chilling there. But I can't sleep. And I'm on the floor. So it's even worse. And eventually he gets to the hospital. He has to do a triple bypass surgery. That's how clogged his arteries were. So I'm like, oh, shit, this is a serious thing. My brother, I don't know if I told you in the last podcast, he's died twice. My brother was hit in the head with a bat, had to get brain surgery, cracked his skull, this stuff. And then he got stabbed 17 times in a whole separate occasion.
Jesus. So
my brother's lost all of his blood, his brain almost swelled through his head. Like he was resuscitated twice, and crazy, he's still alive, literally 9 lives, knock on wood. But I was like, you know what, man, he's been through it. My grandmother at the time is like 90. I was like, man, that lady won't die. She's had COVID. She's had this. She's had everything, and she just.
You were feeling a little bit.
So I'm like, I'm optimistic. My dad won't give up.
Right.
But then I always would mess around because my dad and I complain about the littlest things. Like I'll stub my toe. I'm like, oh, it's all over. Can't do it. I'm like, damn, I get that from my dad. I'm like, man, my dad's like, wait, nap? Hell yeah, I'm going to sleep. I'm like, no, he's not gonna come back. But so he goes through the surgery. I make it to Abu Dhabi. They lose my bags. And I'm like, oh man, this day just can't get any worse. And so they lose my bags. I have to buy a whole new suit for this commentating. Now I have to do like this whole fake smile thing when I'm commentating. I commentate. This is one of Kazmat Chimaev's last fights in Brave. Great highlights and all that stuff. Do the commentating, fly back to Florida. And my mom's like, well, he survived the surgery, and now they just, he needs to wake up. He's sedated for now. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm just trying to stay calm. My family is there. I don't need to do anything. I have the training camp now. I'm 3 weeks to my fight. And at the time, Jillian was like the only person I really talked to. She was kind of like my only friend, that and Dean Thomas. And so
that's right. You were very well connected with them back then. You were going back and forth. I forgot about that.
I used to live with Dean.
Right.
Jillian would be there every single day. She lived like 2 blocks away from the house. And so it was us three. I just finished talking to Dean before I even walked in, So
Shout out to Dean Thomas, man. Great guy, doing big things.
Guy. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
I told him if he's ever down here, I sent him a message, man. I'd love to have him on the podcast, man. But he's a busy motherfucker right now. I
can tell you, as I get through the story, like, he helped me a lot mentally.
Yeah, I believe it.
He's the stereotypical black, like, sitcom father.
Yeah.
He comes in, tells you whatever advice. You're like, Dad, I'm going through some stuff. He'll tell you the advice, and for some reason, it's perfect. And then he walks away like nothing happened. And I'm just like, that was awesome. That was exactly what I needed. So I get back to American Top Team. That I'm staying in the dorms. And so every time I'd come downstairs, hang out with the fighters, hang out with G, and we would do some extra stuff after practice with Dean. And it was sparring day. And I remember my mom called me, and I remember telling my mom, because I'm the baby in the family. So she would always kind of hide stuff from me because she didn't want me to get emotional, because I'm more the emotional person. I'd be the emotional person during stuff. So she's like, I don't want you to react. You have a fight coming up, whatever. She calls me. I'm just like, oh, shit, my mom doesn't call me. So I'm like, who died? Please don't tell me. And she goes, hey, the doctors are saying some stuff, basically, like his liver, his kidney, all these things are failing on him. And I'm like, well, it's obviously not from the heart attack. It's from something else. So I'm starting to think it was cancer. My dad was on steroids back in the day because he was a gang leader. So I'm thinking maybe, he's losing muscle, and then slowly he started to get from, I think, 190, and he's my height, so 190 all the way down to maybe about 122 is when he officially passed away at. I was like, man, he lost a lot of weight. So I'm thinking it was cancer, but we never did an autopsy, which, whatever. So she's like, oh, all these organs are failing. Now, honestly, the machines are keeping him alive, and that's what the doctors told us. We can either keep him on the machines or we can pull the plug. I was like, how about this? Let me buy a flight, and then I'll go home. If he makes it, he makes it. If he doesn't, if he makes it, then we'll pull the plug together. If he doesn't, then at least I'll be home with you guys for the burial. She's like, okay, cool. This is where, like, I'm now becoming the father of the family in my head. And so, and my family doesn't make decisions without telling me, at least from what I know. And so I was like, all right, cool. Bought my plane ticket. I was like, my plane doesn't leave until 4 p.m. It's right now 10. So I was like, I got plenty of time. We have sparring right now. Let me go downstairs and spar, because all I know is training. So I go downstairs, and training is also, and it could be the same for you, I don't know how it is, but training sometimes is like time away from the world.
Of course.
For an hour, 2 hours, whatever.
Different zone, just plug everything out.
Plus, I get to, relieve my stress on somebody too, whatever. So I go downstairs, and Jillian's always fucking with me. She's always like punching me or doing whatever, and she's like hitting me, but there's no reaction. I'm just like, and I'm like looking down the whole time. She goes, hey, what's up? She like lifts my chin up, and I just have tears in my eyes, and like slowly come down, because at least with her, she's my good friend, so I didn't want to be vulnerable to anybody else.
Right.
So I looked at her, and I just started bawling. She's like, and just gave me a big hug, and she's like, what happened? I was like, my father's dying. I have to go home and do this. And then slowly people start coming to me, and it's just like this big like family hug and stuff. And people are like, dude, don't spar. Go upstairs. Do whatever you need to do. I was like, oh, I don't want to be alone with my emotions. I mean, what's one of the scariest things in the world? It's being alone with your thoughts. It
Right.
shit sucks. So I was like, let me spar, and then I'll go upstairs, grab my stuff, and then I'll go. They're like, okay, just don't kill anybody. I was like, yeah, I got you. So I go spar with Pantoja. We ended up sparring like 5 rounds, and we had a great time, which he has a fight coming up with Brandon, which we're excited
big
about.
One, yeah.
And him and I are sparring, and this just shirtless Brazilian, right after that last bell hit, my emotions came back. I'm like, fuck, sparring's over, because I forgot. I let everything go. And sparring's over, and he looks at me, he's like, brother, and just opens up his arms, just like, oh, okay. And I'm just sweaty-ass Brazilian hugging me. I'm just like, oh, my God. And everyone started hugging me again. They're like, oh, our condolences, stuff like that. And I went back to my room, and they're flying home, making it just in time, pulled the plug with my family. And then I had the fight, and they're like, oh, so you're going to cancel your fight? I was like, no, man. I
3 weeks later, that's when the fight was set.
Well, in my head, I'm like, well, what am I going to do?
What's going to change?
Like, this is my first real big loss. Besides, like, pets, it doesn't really affect me the same way. So I'm like, all I know is the little losses that I've had,
right.
to a perspective. So it's my first big loss. I don't know what this is. It's all new to me. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go in there and fight. What else am I going to do? Am I going to be downstairs in my room, cry for 3 weeks, and then be like, damn, I should have fought?
Right.
So I was like, well, let me go back to American Top Team. I'll stay productive. I'm pretty sure that's what my dad wanted me to do anyway, so let me do that. And now everything's fine. The weight cut's good. I'm feeling great. Do documentaries. I'm kind of ignoring the topic because obviously it wasn't, full center. And we get overseas, and it wasn't that the interviews are about my father's death. They kind of definitely let me be nice. The messed up part was it was at Worlds. I was a 2-time world champ as an amateur. So it's all these fighters who look up to me who now see on the news, oh my gosh, Shorty Torres' father passed away. Let's pay our respects. Hell, even Amir Albazi was there too, fighting on the same card, and he's coming up to me. He's like, "Hey, brother, I'm really sorry to hear your father." So everyone, every single day is your father this, your father that. I'm just kind of like, oh man, please let this go. I wanna just focus.
You were trying to get past that.
You remember when Khabib's father passed?
Yeah.
That right after he fought and won, he just broke down and cried.
Of course,
That's what I wanted, and it just never happened.
Mission PT Rehab and Recovery is your one-stop shop for all physical therapy and wellness needs. Our licensed physical therapists provide customized hands-on treatments for all sports injuries, accidents, workers' comp, and more. No doctor prescriptions required for the first 30 days. Mission PT has one-on-one personal training for sports-specific needs, as well as general weight loss and strengthening. We are conveniently located steps from Dayland Mall. Call today for your free 30-minute consult, 786-409-5589. That's 786-409-5589. Mission PT, perform at your best.
So the crazy thing was the fight camp was going well. As traumatic as it was, everything's going well. Now, we're looking for saunas, we're looking for hot baths, we're doing everything we needed. And this is when I started to look at more of the mental health perspective, where I'm not paying attention to it. I'm a guy, I'm a fighter, I'm supposed to be tough, I'm supposed to be rowdy, I'm supposed to do all these crazy things. And I didn't know how much your emotions came into play, but I also kind of did, because when I lost Alex Perez, a bunch of things behind that. But when I got in there, I didn't even want to fight. I'm just like, man, I'm just put my hands up, whatever happens, happens. And I lost at my worst. And it's like, damn. I was like, I didn't know that you could, it would switch everything off. That's why I always say now, you can have the best machine in the world, but if you're not mentally there,
right,
that operator's useless.
Of course.
So I'm going into this weight cut. I think I have 5 days left. So I'm there for 10 days total for this weight cut. Everyone's helping me, trying to do this, support me, which is great. You couldn't be mad at anybody for saying, hey, my condolences, or coming out of their way, especially for the different countries trying to speak English to me. To like, hey, even on their phone, they're like, my condolences.
It's a great gesture.
I'm just like,
right.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. But the problem was it's reminding me, and I'm trying to oh, come on, man. I'm trying to get this away. And I remember having my first ever panic attack. I go into the sauna, and I don't know, my brother's telling me some stuff. And, he, I think, helped prolong that panic attack, like push it back a little bit. Because when it happened, it was just like, oh, man, the jar, or the cap of the jar finally flew off. And I don't know if you ever had a panic attack, but like you're hyperventilating. You ever see the people with like the bag?
Yeah, of course.
That's pretty much me. I'm hyperventilating. But the process was, in my head, I just got cut from the UFC. My relationship with my fiancée at the time is slowly going bad. And so I don't really have a support system in that, for the most part at least. And my father just passed away, which everyone's constantly reminding me about. So in my head, I'm just like, I don't even care anymore. My nutritionist, who is one of the most depressed people I've ever met, he would be like, hey, man, I've had panic attacks. Listen to me and just do what I want you to do, and you'll get over it a lot faster. I did everything opposite of what he said, because there were a couple things in my head. I want to pass out and wake up in the hospital. I want to pass out and wake up back home, or I just want to pass out and have my father next to me. Those were like the three things. None of it was good. Either way, the fight wasn't going to happen. So after the bad weight cut, or the sauna session where I had the panic attack, I take a break. I was like, you know what, man, let's go home. Now, 4 days in a row, I weighed the same thing after doing my workouts and increasing them to hopefully cut weight, because now I'm depleting water, stuff like that. So 4 days in a row, I weighed the same thing. So in my head, I'm like, holy shit, my emotions are holding me back from even pursuing more, pushing more. Marcel Durr was actually running next to me on the treadmill one day, and my body was giving out. He's just like looking at me, just kind of like sweating, drenched, and I'm just like, I'm envious because he's just drenched, but I'm dry. And I can't sweat. I was like, dude, I can't do this. Like I already had one fight that
your body was talking to you.
Yeah,
it was.
In my head, I'm like, and I'm now traumatized from that Alex Perez fight, not because of the opponent, but because I didn't fight at my best. And even still today, 5 years later, I'm like, man, what if I was able to try my best? I woulda, shoulda, coulda. So I'm like, man, I don't want to even be put in that situation again. I'm obviously hindered. Let me just go home. Brave hopefully will respect it and honor it, and just kind of go from there. So I went up to Mohammed Shahid, the president. I was like, hey, man, I can't do it. He goes, okay, well, do me the favor and say it at the press conference. I was like, all right, it's going to suck, but okay, cool. And, I got on stage.
You did a great job of that. I remember that.
I appreciate it. And that was the hard part, is not breaking down, because you never just want to cry. I don't want to be vulnerable in front of anybody, but as a man in general, I think.
See, but there lies the problem. That right there is something that I think we need to work on as a gender, if you want to say that, but maybe in this era, whatever it is you want, and what a crazy era to bring this type of topic up, because the reverse is happening where the men are getting way softer. Bad. They're becoming a whole nother different style of man. I'm just saying men should open up more. Yeah. Men should be more willing to disclose what's bothering them with their significant others, amongst their brothers, meaning close friends. Yeah. We shouldn't hold back so much because of this manly way of being. Again, if you're in prison,
we talked about that.
You might want to hold back on opening up,
Yeah, but you're outside in the free world. It's hey man,
we need to encourage each other too. Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, my mindset was at the time, and obviously I agree with you, is I'm in front of a lot of, to me, kids that look up to me, that want to get to my level, surpass me. I'm in front of my opponent that I'm, supposed to be trying to beat up, that wants to beat me up too. And in general, I'm a man that doesn't want to cry in front of people. Like, I'd never cry, so I cry a lot now, but, in my own little dorm and in front of like personal people, that's pretty much about it. But at the time, I held so much that it finally broke open, that it hindered everything else in my life. When I talk about my ex-relationship, it's just like, instead of venting to her, I was taking it out on her. But that's also because I didn't know how to handle my emotions, So there was a lot of those things of like, again, we're men. We're not taught to vent. We're not taught to let it out. We're not taught to just overall figure things out on that perspective. We just know the physical stuff of doing this, doing that. Right. Always handle business. But, the mental side's always been there. But now it's a little more public to be okay with not being okay, which is fine. The only problem is now I think people are becoming too sensitive and leaning too much on the opposite side of the spectrum.
So who helped you find that balance when you were trying to find it yourself? Because it's, one thing it's very difficult to try to talk to somebody about, like me even talking to you right now. I asked you earlier off cam if you were okay talking about this, because I'm not trying to dig so deep and make you go through another emotional roller coaster in regards to your dad. If you talk to me about my mom possibly dying, I'll cry. And she's well healthy right now. I don't even want to talk about it. I'll cry. Yeah. So I'm very respectful about that. I do think that it's difficult to how do I approach this person to try to help them with what seems to be a mental issue? Yeah. How do I go right at it? Do I walk on eggshells? Is that going to help them if I walk on eggshells? Do I go straight brute and tell them, it's difficult. So who was able to help you with that, and how did they do it?
The crazy thing is, there's only so many people that I open up to. Dean was one of them. And so Dean helped me a little bit, but it was always that, like, the little 2 cents, walk away. 2 cents, walk away. And I think the biggest quote that I took out of a lot of things is, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. Mm-hmm. And it's a true statement. We're trying to help people, save people, whatever the case may be. So when it came to me, the only person that was going to help me was me. But in the first year of after losing my father, I'm taking it out on people. I'm going through all the stages of grief, and I'm being angry. I'm being depressed. I'm being whatever, regretful and all these different things. And I'm taking it out in the world instead of just, let me take it out on myself a little bit, kind of self-reflect, and then move on from there. And I think COVID was like the worst thing that happened to me, because it made me alone in my thoughts, but I had no choice but to fight my own demons and be like, all right, cool. I can't go outside. I can't do this. I can't do that. It's just me versus me. Let's figure this out. And I remember sitting down and opening up my laptop. So at the time, my relationship now is like officially dwindling away with my ex-fiancée. So I was like, you know what? It's obviously been prolonged for years. I think I'm the one obviously holding us together, but in the negative way where like she wants to go, but I'm like, no, gotcha, to where I remember writing a letter, and it was like a 4-page letter. And Dean kind of did one of those things where he saw me in the kitchen and he's like, writing a letter? You writing it to some female? Good luck with that. And just walked away. I was like,
there goes his advice.
I was like, how the hell did you know? He knew nothing of
you ain't writing to a man. I can say that.
So I was just like, all right, cool. And so I wrote this letter, and I thought about it for a week, and that was kind of like the letter of like letting her go. And so in the process, I was like, let me self-reflect on myself. Now I don't have the girl I'm leaning on, where I was venting all the time to, but instead of venting, again, I'm taking it out on. So it wasn't the best, conversations in the world. So it's like, you know what? Let me vent to myself. I opened up my laptop and just started journaling. I still have on my laptop today. I think it was 89 pages that I wrote. That I was giving myself so much anxiety to write, whether it was rethinking about past mistakes in my relationship, rethinking of past experiences with my father, the woulda, shoulda, couldas while being in the UFC or moving up to the UFC. I just rethought everything and just talked it out. And I literally vented to myself. And it's like the shower conversation that everyone always has, the arguments, but just putting it down into words and letters.
Right. You know, I do the shower conversation a lot. I know a lot of people claim that, and that's why I don't like to say the shower thing, because then I feel like I'm on the same level as them. But it is definitely proven that writing shit down, and not just for your emotions, just writing business ideas, when you blueprint something, when you have, it just all of it, when you write it down, there's something that happens where you're way more involved in it. You're giving yourself this peace of mind to think without any interruptions, and you're focused on expressing it through penmanship.
Yeah.
Without anybody interfering with your emotions. Because if I was trying to tell you what I wrote on my laptop, if the roles switch, I now feel the pressure of you're here in front of me. You're here going to judge me. You're here going to have an opinion about so on and so forth. And now I'm not going to be able to say it the same way I wrote it down. So writing it down, I think, is a very, very effective tool. And I'm sure that's something that really helped you, obviously.
I was writing. I don't like reading. I'm just not a fan of reading. I'm ADHD. I need to move. I need to do stuff. I was reading mental health books. I was watching, actually, I'm a big anime guy. I started watching anime that talked about mental health and different perspectives and philosophies and stuff. So I was watching short series on that. I was listening to like TED Talks, watching videos, or even different topics of like, how do you get over grieving? How do you get over a past relationship? How do you get over a job loss? Whatever the case may be. And I started to go through certain things.
Did you ever seriously contemplate actual therapy? I'm not saying you should have. I'm just curious.
The crazy thing is I tried, and I remember my ex telling me, she goes, hey, how about you try some therapy? I was like, well, I'm a guy. I don't like it. I don't want to do it. How am I going to, especially going to a person, for example, like you and I have been through somewhat the similar upbringing to where like I can talk to you with stuff and you'd be like, oh, okay, cool. The streets, this, that, whatever. And we can figure that out. Compared to a therapist, maybe no offense to any type of race, but maybe you're a white dude that grew up on the north side of Chicago. Maybe you're not even from Chicago, so you don't know my upbringing. And now you're telling me to do stuff when you grew up with money and I didn't. Now you're like, oh, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? Like, yo, I'm broke. Or I don't have the opportunity for this, but you did. So maybe you don't understand what I went through, but now you're giving me advice that probably isn't tailor-made for me. It's just that general advice. So I did go to therapy. I ended up, luckily for government aid, Medicaid and all that stuff, I was broke one year, so I took all advantage to it, went to three different therapists, and all of them were just like, oh, how about you take some anxiety medication? Like, that was the first thing, was like drugs. God
damn, I hate that shit.
And I took care of kids that were orphans and adopted, where they were automatically medically diagnosed that they have these issues, so they need to take these medications. But anytime they hung out with me, they were perfectly fine.
Right.
But anytime they hung out with their adopted parents, they were crazy, wild. I'm like, well, they don't respect you. And there was different instances. So it's like, obviously the medication, I'm not saying it doesn't work. Some people need it, and that's fine. But for me, I was like, I don't want to be drugged up everywhere I go and be like, this is what I need. My dad smoked weed, and that was his drug. But then it became an over-abusive thing where now he's smoking to breathe instead of smoking to maybe relieve anxiety or stay calm and do this. Right. So for me, I was like, I don't want to partake in any of that smoking weed, which I did for a while, because I was just like, you know what, man, I'm going through a lot of shit right now. I'm just try whatever's going to make me hopefully calm or happy or at peace for whatever being. And I was drinking, I was smoking, I tried different drugs. I just was like, you know what, man, I never really enjoyed my youth. And I guess a perspective of it where it's like I was always in a relationship. I was always focused on my career. COVID just hit. So it's like a lot of things aren't opening up, especially my fight being overseas. I'm like, we can't travel anywhere. So I'm like, oh, cool. I'm going to do these, do this, do that.
All out for a little bit. I'm just going to have a little bit of fun. Haven't done that for a while.
I can tell you it was fun. I can tell you some drugs where I'm like, oh, yeah, I can see why people were doing
that.
Like, oh, shit. God damn. But, with that being said, it's like, let me just be me and see what I like, see what, where I go from here and how much I grow. And honestly, I think because I self-reflected where I had no choice, so much time on that, being alone in the house because Dean was always other places. Man, I took so many notes. And then with that being said, because I was going through so much shit, I've always wanted to be a big brother, a father figure. So I was like, you know what? If I'm going through some stuff, let me be vulnerable and go, you know what? I'm this big time fighter. It's okay to not be okay. Let me post mental health videos every single day. And so that's what I've been doing for, I think since 2019, that's what I've been doing, is posting mental health videos every single weekday. Saturday night, pretty much Sunday when the day starts, I'll do a Sunday question day and people can ask me literally whatever they want. And, questions like this or whatever. And I post, a minute response and have some fun with it. I've had, stuff. I only respond to stuff that I can personally relate to. I don't want to post stuff that I've never been through, and then people are like, "Oh, you don't understand." Well, yeah, technically I don't.
Right.
So why am I posting it? So I don't even bother with that.
I don't know how many people say this. I know it's a popular concept. I know a lot of people back it up. Those who have done it. I know that I've faced it myself forcefully in prison when I was in prison. But isolation, as scary as it can be, and it can defeat the weak. It can break down those who aren't mentally strong enough. And that's a lot, by the way. That's a lot of the majority of the world, okay? Because we're humans. We love comfort. We love the warmth of a body. We love attention. We love every bit of, what influenced us through our lives from the minute you're in your mother's belly. But to go somewhere else and really figure out who you are, really dig deep into your own, isolation is a blessing.
Yeah.
It really is. It's scary, but it's a blessing. You can see what the monks do. You can see how certain people who come out of prison like myself do. It's because you said it yourself earlier. You're your own worst enemy, yet this is what you need, and it's going to be a wild trip, but this is what you need. And in some crazy way, COVID did that for some of us.
Yeah.
And then again, unfortunately, COVID put a lot of people did the opposite because people didn't know what to do with all that freedom and didn't know what to do with themselves without having,
The crazy thing about that is, if you're, what's the saying? It's like, if you're alone while you're alone, you're in the wrong company or something like that. Like, you don't like your own company.
Oh, yeah, I get that.
So that means I took it as, man, I don't love myself. And my best friend, Julio, he's the complete opposite of me. So he's like, to me, I'm like the angel, the devil, and we always butt heads, but we see different people, others' perspectives, and we talk about it all the time. And he's like, man, you're not comfortable with yourself. That's really all it is. Like, you don't love yourself. That's why you do too much for others. You're trying to please people and you can't even please yourself. And it's like, damn. So I looked at it in my last relationship of, I was at maybe 20% of me. And by the time I did get to see her because of the long distance thing, or even if it was over the phone, I'm giving you 20% of me, even though that's 100% of me right now. You don't deserve 20. Hell, I don't deserve 20. So instead of, and I used to do this of just spreading myself too thin to help everyone, that by the time I came home, I couldn't even help myself. I was like, let me spend time with me first so I can be however much percentage I can be, 80, 100%, whatever the case may be. And you deserve that more than what I'm giving you now. So that's why I let her go, and that I needed time to really fix myself, to go, I love myself, I'm comfortable with stuff. I mean, how many times people get insecure about stuff? It's like, oh, well, probably because you're not, confident about some shit on yourself. It's not the other guy, or it's not the other girl, whatever the case may be, circumstances, it's just about you.
So when do you know, because, I'm sure there's naysayers or people listening or watching who think at some point you do need a professional to determine something. So you kind of went that route. You got 3 or 4 visits to different therapists, offer you medicine, this and that. You got advice from certain friends, Dean Thomas, your brother, whoever it might be. At what point did you kind of feel or think or figure out, okay, I'm good now. I'm good. At least I'm good enough. I might not be over it. Are you ever over it? Kind of like when they talk about when you have an addiction. You're addicted forever, right? You're just always recovering. So was there a moment that hit where you're just like, okay, I'm over it, I'm good now? Or was it just like, okay, I feel my best at this point and I've gotten enough advice from those who I think that really matter and I feel good, mentally I feel good? When did all that happen where you felt good enough to, all right, let's move on now, let's go on to the next chapter?
It was crazy because during COVID, I'm going through that stuff, my relationship's over, not in the UFC, father passed away, and there's at least a solid year of no activity. It's just training. It's just repeating. That's all I'm doing, but it's all in the house. So I'm in a sense, given a semi-prison perspective, I'm in solitude.
Right.
That's all I'm doing.
Right.
Maybe go to the store real quick, come on back. That's it. Now I'm in my room by myself. So through all the writing, through all the stuff, I was like, you know what? My guy is on Tinder too. I was like, let me go on Tinder, have some fun, and maybe I can use this as, am I ready for another relationship, or do I need to work on myself still? And I think that's also the bad thing is me. I was so codependent on my last relationship, or just codependent on people, that I was like, you know what, at least on the emotional side, I was like, you know what, let me try dating. Let's see how this works. And some of it went well. And then some of it I was like, oh, damn, I still need to work on that. Like, you won't know until you're put into that situation. You know, it's like when people say, hey, I can bungee jump, do all this stuff. And you see that little
they're shitting on themselves. Yeah, you got a viral clip.
So that was me, where I'm in situations, I'm like, oh, damn, I'm not ready for this. Or I'm not ready for that. Or I need to still improve on this. I thought I was there, but that was really just talk to myself, trying to hype me up.
Right.
I need to work on this. So that came into play. That also kind of transitioned to my MMA game. You know what? I need to work on stuff. Let me work on head movement. Let me work on this. Let me work on that. More sweeps, whatever the case may be. And I started traveling and training more. And I was like, you know what? This time in the car, I get to listen to podcasts, listen to stuff that helps me better prepare for whatever I'm about to do. And then I'm 100% when I'm able to go in there, or at least better than just being alone, being to myself. And I was doing a lot of fake it to make it for a while until it became kind of a normal thing of like, you know what? This routine's kind of nice. You know, as long as I stay positive, I'm fine. Bad shit's always going to happen to you.
Of course.
And I can tell you with the Alex Perez fight, that was a lot of bad shit. But then I moved to the Mirabazi fight. It was practically the same shit. But for some reason, I was able to better push through it because I've been through it once. Then after a Mirabazi fight, you know, the fight against Marcel Dur didn't happen. I was like, fuck, okay, this is a whole new obstacle I need to overcome. Then I fought Sean Santella. Wasn't 100% there, but I still made the fight. Cool, you know what? Hey, that's a little progress. Went to a draw. I was supposed to rematch him. Then my opponent, he ended up backing out. He ended up getting injured. Somebody else came in, and then situations got, you know, pushed to the side or whatever the case may be, where I'm like, okay, you know what, man, don't panic. You just gotta push through it and just see where it goes. If it doesn't work, that stuff didn't work, but you're still here, right? So let's not make it the end of the world. And actually, one of the biggest quotes, and this is Dean Thomas, I went to go fight Ali Bagotinov in Russia. So I won the first fight against, it was supposed to be Sean Santella. I won the rematch against Blaine O'Driscoll. And I went to fight Ali in the semifinals. Win this, I fight for the belt. And I get there in Russia, Dagestan in general was just rough. And it wasn't like the people or anything. It was just the nature, man. These guys are tough. They're strong. I got beat up a lot. I overtrained for sure, and that's definitely on my side. And I ended up getting injured to where I still tried to push through. I was like, you know what? It's physical. I'll push through. Even if I fight with a limp, I'll be fine. I'll do it. And situations made it work to where, like, I couldn't, you know, cut the weight. And so I was like, you know what? After this fight, no matter what, I don't even care if I win it and go to the finals. I'm bumping up. I can't make 25 anymore. And I called Dean, and in my head, I'm letting everyone down. I'm like, man, I've been in Dagestan for 2 months. I've been training with Dean for about a year, living with them, and he's taking care of me. You know, I'm letting so many people down that believe in me. And that's what I'm thinking in my head. And Dean texts me. He goes, hey, if Ali takes the fight, because I'm going to miss weight automatically. I'm just trying to see if he wants to take the fight, just to take the fight. He, in general, ended up not taking the fight. But he goes, hey, I'm panicking. He goes, and I'm definitely an overthinker. He goes, if Ali takes the fight, you're going to fight him? I was like, well, yeah, that's exactly what I want. I'm like, okay. If you take the fight and he lose, or if and you lose, what are you going to do? I was like, well, yeah, I'm going to get back in there and fight because I want to get back in the winner's circle. He goes, okay. Ali doesn't take the fight and they find you somebody else in a month. You're going to take it? I was like, yeah. He goes, win or lose, you're going to fight again? I'm like, yeah. He goes, so no matter what, you're going to fight again. It's okay. Yeah, this situation sucks right now. Let it dwell in a little bit. Go ahead. You have to let it out. But take your day. Then after that, it's over.
Spoken like a veteran, man.
Yeah, he's like,
been in the game.
Well, he's been in it so many years. I'm sure he's gone through his fair share of trials and tribulations where it's like, you know, it is what it is. And that's kind of now, ever since that moment passed, I'm like, it is what it is. I mean, how many times, like, even just coming here, I'm like, oh, I'll text you half an hour in. Right where I'm texting you, it's a car accident, and my timer went up an extra 30 minutes. I'm like, yo, I've already been on the road for an hour. So
you know, I live by that, Shorty. I literally live by it. I roll with the punches so easy, and I'm like, listen, that it happened. That's it. It is what it is. What are we gonna do next? We can't sit here and dwell. We got to give it our best shot, and what will happen will happen. I'm not a godly believer, but what will happen, meaning the chips will fall however they fall based upon, you know, the efforts put forth. But I'm sure it's hard for Dean to even give you that type of advice because, you know, you're one of his favorite fighters. You're a true friend of his. So. You're a true friend of his. You're probably like family. I mean, fuck, you're living in his house. You know, that's real shit there. And yeah, he's trying to find the best way to give you the best advice. You know, that's difficult for people in those situations. But man, he said it real solid, like, and then what? So that was like, boom. That was maybe that. Okay, I'm good to go now.
Throughout everything, it was always me helping me. But like you were saying, seeking professional help. Every once in a while, I'd be like, hey, Dean, and like if I was really kind of like, I don't know, I can't figure it out, let me talk to Dean. Let me call my brother. Let me call my manager, Lex. Let me vent to people. I can tell you this. I've written my death note multiple times. I've written suicide notes where I'm like, I'm not going to do it. But if I ever just somehow reach over the edge, this is why. And I just want to thank certain people and whatever the case may be. But again, we talked about it off air. Like I was never suicidal where I'm like, I'm going to do it. But I was just like, man, if a car was about to hit me, I wouldn't move, which it actually happened once. I was in the Promenade in Coconut Creek, and it's a very, very rich neighborhood. And I'm walking through it, and this Mercedes, like, looks like, going through is about to hit me. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, worst comes to worst, if I survive this, I'll make a bank.
Yeah.
So I stop in the middle of the street, and she, stops right in front of me. She goes, convertible. She goes, why the fuck didn't you move? And I'm just like mumbling. I'm like, why didn't you fucking hit me?
Right.
I'm like, sorry. And I just kind of went on through my day. But
that's crazy.
Like you said, things happen for a reason. And I am the best I can possibly be right now, where even me mentally, I feel that I'm ready for a relationship. I'm ready for a world title fight. And I'm ready for whatever's, in the future, where maybe I'm even a father.
Mission PT Rehab and Recovery is your one-stop shop for all physical therapy and wellness needs. Our licensed physical therapists provide customized hands-on treatments for all sports injuries, accidents, workers' comp, and more. No doctor prescriptions required for the first 30 days. Mission PT has one-on-one personal training for sports-specific needs, as well as general weight loss and strengthening. We are conveniently located steps from Dadeland Mall. Call today for your free 30-minute consult, 786-409-5589. That's 786-409-5589. Mission PT, perform at your best.
So now you're feeling yourself again. I mean, obviously because you have a fight lined up. Mm-hmm. And what date is that, by the way?
August 11th.
But this time you said it was not going to be overseas.
Well, a different sea.
Different sea. Yeah. You're going to Colombia.
Yeah.
Bogota.
Yeah, Bogota. I'll be, and I'm hoping to get there a little earlier because of the elevation, the altitude's real high.
You had to tell me that. I didn't even realize that it's that high.
Feet.
Holy
Actually, Juan
shit.
Porta was the one that told me. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot we're in the mountains. So it reminds me of the Cain Velasquez Verdum fight.
Right. Yeah, I remember when that.
Known as like the workhorse, and I don't know. He went there and he had one solid round. That was it. And Verdum's like, oh, this is great. Knocked him out.
Not too long ago, they went to Utah. UFC went to Utah, and every fighter said the same thing. And most of them went a week ahead of time.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to tell people, man, a week allows you to walk around and not have a fucking breathing ordeal, but you need 2 or 3 weeks to really feel yourself, man.
I took kind of like a little vacation for once in my life, an actual vacation without getting punched in the face. I went to Guadalajara, Ciudad de Mexico, and Tulum. And when I was in Mexico City, it's in the mountains. I forgot. I didn't realize it. And that's actually where that fight was for Cain Velasquez and Verdum, to where my friend and I worked out, and he's just an average Joe, working out. Oh, I want to work out with MMA fighters, stuff like that. And out of nowhere, I'm like, yeah, keep going. You can do it. I'm just like, dude, we're doing the same thing. You're the average Joe. Yeah. I'm known for these intense workouts, but I can't even, like, you ever do a workout and you're like, all right, this is what we're going to do. And then halfway through, you're like, this is the worst idea I've ever come up with.
Yeah, of course.
That was that. I'm like, dude, I do this every day. Why am I struggling here compared to literally yesterday in Guadalajara? I'm doing the same exact thing. It was the altitude. Yeah. And I was only there for a week, and it felt like I had a fever. I think there's some called altitude sickness.
Yes, there is.
Like nausea, you can throw up, you feel weak. I felt jet lagged, and I was jet lagged because I was traveling all through Mexico. So I did a lot of stuff, but I'm like, man, thinking about that, and then when Juan Porta was like, oh, Bogota is really, really high as well, you should get some altitude training. Yeah. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that.
Is this for a number one contender spot?
No, this is for the belt.
Oh, this is for the belt?
Yeah, this will be the main event. At the Pan American Games for the IMUF. So the IMUF will be hosting the Pan American Games. It's 4 days in a row. The 5th day is the Brave event. I'll be the main event for that. And then the 6th day is the championship for the Pan American Games.
So there's going to be a lot of eyes over there, a lot of fans,
so
a lot
we
of
talk
tourists.
about the process of when I fought at Worlds, and I was the main event for the belt, where everyone's like, oh, my condolences to your father. It's like, I kind of, in a sense, it might not be the same group of people, but the same organization where I kind of redeemed myself in front of the people who helped make me, which was the IMUF. They gave me that pedestal to use and grow on. And then now being able to fight in front of them, hopefully, especially the Latinos, like, you can be like me with this blueprint, if not, hopefully surpass me.
Right. We were talking about your Spanish. You've been working on your Spanish a little bit better.
When I was in Mexico, so, the fun thing is, obviously, I'm single, so I date. When I travel, if I can get a date, awesome. Let's spend the day together, have a good time. And when I was in Ciudad de Mexico, I went to, my friend was like, oh, you love dessert? Let's go to a panaderia and, have a good time. And there was this girl who reminded me of one of the animated girls from El Dorado. And I was like, oh, man, she's gorgeous. She looks cool. And so my Spanish is broken to an extent. So I was like, you know what? It's actually, I've learned that it's actually cuter when
you love it. Yeah, when you struggle.
And because even though
you're trying,
even though I am Mexican Puerto Rican, given I wasn't raised speaking Spanish, so that's why my Spanish is broken. I didn't get that privilege, sadly. But with that being said, is they look at, oh, no matter what, you're an American, so your Spanish is going to be different. Your accent or what, even if it's perfect, you're going to have an American accent a little bit.
100%.
You know, so when I started talking to her, she understood everything I was saying, but I showed her the picture. I was like, man, you look like this girl. And she's just like, oh, like kind of laughed, whatever. And then I just played it smooth. And my friends were watching, like, oh, what the hell? Like, you got her number? I was like, yeah, I'm hanging out with her tomorrow.
Spitting fire.
And the thing was, she only knew Spanish. Like, even there was no, like, I know a little bit of English. It was just maybe if I ordered for, bread, at the panaderia, that's pretty much maybe and some coffee. But
that made it even more interesting, fun date, I would imagine.
I spent 12 hours with her. And I learned how much better my Spanish has gotten of, like, because you have no choice.
Right.
And so when you're trying to explain stuff, when you can't think of the word, you maybe remember other words. And you're like, oh, this, that.
Right.
And I start
connecting them together, yeah.
And I understand for the most part, besides maybe some things maybe I've never heard of or that I don't use as often, but it was dope. It was a good experience. She enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. And then even when I came back to the Goat Shed on Thursday, there's a guy named Freddie. He's the boxer. He's like
Cuban.
Yeah, Spider. And he literally, the first sentence, he's like, dude, your Spanish got a lot better. I was like, oh, awesome. Like, it made me blush, because
funny, because I was giving Roy props for his English.
Dude, I told him
his fucking English is phenomenal,
I'm
dude.
just like, dude, you never went to class for this? Like, no, I just talk to people. I was like,
but he's making a valiant effort, and that's what counts. You gotta say, you guys are products.
Yeah,
you guys are products. You are literally a product that you have to market, and why not be able to speak 2 languages? By the way, you were mentioning Mexico or Guadalajara. How do you feel about the fight tonight, dude? We got Aldana representing Mexico going against the GOAT, the GOAT, who you train with side by side on.
We could have a 4th, UFC champion from Mexico, born and raised in Mexico. So that is a big thing. Actually, when I was in Guadalajara, I went for fights, and all the fighters being primarily Mexican, like just sparring with those guys, I'm like, yo, this is fun because they're tough. And then I hit up Alexa Grasso. I was like, hey, do you want to hang out? Obviously train. She ended up, I didn't notice how big Guadalajara was. Like, she was in the whole opposite side. I'm like, I can't do that. But just being
she's beautiful, by the way.
Oh, she's
phenomenal. I think Alexa Grasso is beautiful.
She's very beautiful. She's a great athlete. She supports her people. I actually passed up the painting that they have for her, the mural.
Oh, right, yeah.
I was like, yo, this is dope.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy for her, because when I met her, that was in 2016 when I just made my pro debut. We were both doing like meet and greets, kind of like the prospects going to inevitably be in the UFC, and we're doing meet and greets with like Chris Cyborg and Eddie Bravo and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, dope.
I was telling one of my fighters a couple days ago, I'm very torn. I'm not torn. I'm gonna keep it 100.
Yeah.
I'm pulling for Irene Aldana, not because she's Mexican, not the Latino versus Brazilians or anything like that. 'Cause people get like that sometimes, I get it when it's American versus a foreigner. You want to go for American. But bro, I've been following Aldana and Alexa Grasso since like their second fight when they were in Invicta, when they opened up the Lobo gym with her uncle. Like, I've been following them for a while.
They're
legit. And so I've been attached to them. I feel like I've been watching their whole growth, even through their UFC career. And now, like you said, all these Mexicans got the belts, Moreno, Grasso, and Pantera. Yeah. And now Irene. Listen, I love the Lioness. She's the GOAT. She's the GOAT, and she's been
dope. Pioneer MMA.
Yeah, fun to watch. She's a veteran right now. I think she's a great person. I love that she's got a family. She's become such a mother, and it's all great to watch. So it's nothing. If she wins, I'm happy as fuck for her. But I'm pulling for Aldana. It's time to change the throne a little bit, and
the passing of the torch.
Yeah, and see that go. So that's later on tonight. I can't wait for that. By the way, what is it you got planned for the rest of the time being here?
I'm hoping to hang out with a friend after this. I date, and there's a lot of people that And I think you've noticed where it's like you date and you're like, you guys are cool, but we don't vibe like that.
Right.
And there's always that one person you're like, yo, you're dope. And I travel too much to where I can't do that. Where I can't actually have a serious relationship without it being long distance and for them understanding.
It's difficult.
Anyways, it sucks. But when I went on my date with the girl who worked at Panaderia in Mexico, I was like, yo, you're a diamond in the rough. That's what I like to call them. Like, you shine brighter than every other diamond I see. Like, this diamond's nice, but it's not my style, So she was dope, but there's a girl here that I hang out with that I'm hoping to see and hang out with again. I saw her a couple days ago. There's a Puerto Rican spot by the goat shed that we went to, so that was cool. But just hang out and just
you mentioned that I date too. Very, very rarely. Like, I mean, I would date right now. It doesn't matter. Yeah. But the reason I say rarely is because I don't. My time is worth a lot, and my energy is worth even more. And I don't want to keep wasting it and spreading it thin just because I'm trying shit out. I like to hook up just like anybody else who likes to hook up, but I'm not with the headache and spending all kind of money just to hope that it goes that route because the vibe isn't that real, but the attraction is good enough. And goddamn, that whole thing is energy draining, dude, bro. Right. It's energy draining. But look at here, right? I just got on Hinge maybe 5-6 months ago. I haven't been on an app forever, and I'm having the worst luck. No matches, no nothing.
Dude, it's a wild.
I don't pay. I know a lot of people like to say that they don't pay. I think you're full of shit. Most of you fuckers pay. You got all these roses to hand out to chicks and shit like that.
A bunch of the guys told me, they're like, sign up for platinum on Tinder. You'll get matched all the time.
You see what I mean? And I don't. What? See, I don't. But anyhow, by luck or whatever, matched up with this chick. And long story short, bro, it was dope. It was a vibe. First on the messages, it was a vibe, and she was the first one to say it. Like, yo, you really come off as a rare breed of person. And I said, ditto. I like your energy. Blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. She's like, we need to hang out. This and that. Well, I said, well, fuck, take my number. Let's talk. So now we're talking. Now we have our first date, and it went phenomenal. No bullshit. It went phenomenal. I don't know how much better it could have went unless you're talking about hooking up, which we didn't do all that, right? And there was only just a couple of kisses at the end of the night, right? But getting to know each other, vibing, talking shit, saying how we are, blah, 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 went great. You would think, okay, I landed one.
Yeah.
Nah, bro. And I don't know if she's watching. I don't give a fuck if she's watching. She knows, bitch. Yeah. She knows that she has something that she didn't finish. I guess, I guess I'm a rebound again, or she was unsure of what she had going on with somebody.
She was still going through whatever she
without wanting to admit it.
Yeah.
I gave her the opportunity. And this bothers me because it's like, bitch, I gave you the opportunity to keep it real. Mm-hmm. Keep it real. I told you I'm a real ass motherfucker. You don't got to sugarcoat anything. Are you seeing somebody? No? Yeah. Are you on some breakup like you kind of heard and this and that? And are you sure? Are you somebody who likes to date multiple people? And that's cool too if you want to.
It's like, hey, if I'm a rebound, I'll treat you like if I'm the rebound compared to being so emotional with you and open it up. So
right. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be, whether it's male or female, I'm going to go on a limb and say the females will defend it more. They might say, well, maybe she didn't want to disclose all that because she thought she was over it. Maybe she didn't want to disclose that there was somebody still lingering because it'll push you away. Yeah, maybe you're right. That's true. Probably would have. Mm-hmm. Ain't that the right thing to do?
Yeah.
Don't you guys always complain when men do dog ass shit? Like, just keep it real.
Just be open. That's it.
Brutal honesty, as long as it's delivered appropriately, depending on the situation, is 99% of the time the best policy. Mm-hmm. You might not like what I said, but you're gonna respect that I was truthful about it and I didn't hold back. And whether it hurt your feelings or you didn't get the results you wanted, you're still, at the end, the results will be more positive than negative because I didn't lie.
I'd rather find out now than have it be prolonged and the emotions are even more. It's like, you could have told me this earlier. Right.
And then she was trying to do a follow-up after she pretty much ghosted me, trying to be kind of apologetic. And then I was like, listen, you obviously got something going on. Mm-hmm. It's all good. I wish you the best. We're cool. No ill. All we did was went on a date and we hung out a second time after. No, there's nothing going on. Like, here she came back at me trying to say nothing's going on.
Yeah.
Of course there is. So anyways, the dating game is a motherfucker. I know it sounds like we left off earlier on. You were mentioning that one day you were hoping to be a father, and I know you will be, and you'll find a good one. But yeah, I would say it'd probably be on the tail end of your career because all this traveling is it's too difficult, and you really don't want anything holding you back if this is where you're at. If let's say you do this fight in Colombia. And you're with Brave right now. I don't know what your contract is about, but let's say, because, one championship is kicking ass and they look phenomenal. PFLs look fucking making big moves, right? Mm-hmm. So, obviously UFC out the picture. So if that's, okay, now we're more homebound. Now we're, maybe now you can date somebody, within the States and all that. But while you're doing all these dude,
it's
not a
funny
wise
because
decision.
a lot of people, like, I do have swagger. I can talk to women. I can do this. I date a lot. But, obviously there's the diamonds in the rough, and then there's there's just the rough, But for me, I'm like, you know what, man? If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And I look at my last relationship. Awesome. It just worked out the way it did. And 7 years later, it was great for the most part. For the most part, positive memories. Things will happen. People are here for seasons. Awesome. In those 7 years, you taught me a lot. Then awesome. I'm going to keep on just going. And maybe I find another person that's there for tomorrow. There for a year, there for another 7 years, maybe there for the rest of my life. So for me, I'm just kind of enjoying the opportunities. I'm not trying to force anything. But when it comes to the dating thing where it's like, man, I found some great women that want more from me. And I'm like, I would love to, but I honestly can't because my goals in front of me are too important. And that's the hard thing. Anime has taught me this. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood talks about equivalent exchange. Pretty much whatever you want, you're going to have to give in return. So you're going to give that same thing. So for example, when people were talking about Amanda Nunes, 2-belt champion, this, that, yada, 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 it's like, how much time did she have to give up? She had to leave her country. She had to do this. She had to do that. She had to leave gym. She had to do whatever. It's like, for me, I look at it with my father passing away. I look at it with my last relationship kind of going to shit. Could I have spent more time with my father? For sure. Could I have spent more time in my last relationship? For sure. Could I have been there more in person in just friendships in general with everyone? For sure. But on the other side is I started to win belts. I started to defend those belts. I started to go to the UFC. I started to make money. I started to do this, do that. But I wouldn't have gotten that without sacrificing this.
Right.
So to the person, it's what's more important. For me, I don't have anyone, like you said, holding me back to where I'm so emotionally attached to somebody where I'm like, you know what? This is hard to decide. Since I let that go, it's not hard for me to decide anymore. This is my year so far, or at least the past 5 weeks. Went to Mexico for the past 2 weeks. Went to Florida for a day after Tulum. Serbia for a week to commentate for Titan. I'm here for Florida for a week. I leave next week to Atlanta to corner Amber Liebrock for the PFL. And then I'll be home in Chicago for a week. I'm going to try my best to see as everyone as I possibly can while also training. I'm in Las Vegas for 6 weeks, getting ready for my fight. And I do solitude. I don't go out and mingle. I don't do anything. Like I want to focus on my fight. I'm away from home, from family, my loved ones. Fuck everybody. I'm doing what I need to do. I'm mingling in the gym, and then I'm back in my cave pretty much. Then 2 weeks in Colombia for my fight. After that, I'm doing an AFE tour, Armed Forces Entertainment. I'm literally home for maybe 2 days, and then I'm going overseas again. I'll be in Europe visiting 4 countries in 2 weeks, visiting the U.S. military, doing that again in September, and then I'm supposed to, if everything goes well, fight again in October. And then I'm supposed to fight again in December. So it's just literally training camp, this. And I don't like being home for my training camps. So as much as I love
you mentioned going to Vegas for 6 weeks. What gym are you training
I'll be at
at?
Extreme Couture.
Oh, okay.
There's such an open gym that because there's it's a mecca. So many people come in and out to where Drew Dober, he's not even part of that gym. He's part of Team Elevation. He came in 1 week because the coaches are cool. They're like, hey, yeah, pay for your week. Come on in. And, our guys could use some fun rounds with you. And I'm sure you'll learn something. And as long as you bring positivity and you're not an asshole in the gym,
right?
Dude, come on in and let's have some fun. If you're a dick, hey, cool. You can spar with these guys. You're going to get your ass kicked and we're going to kick you out. So my time right now is traveling. And I don't think I have any kids. Hopefully not. So it's like I deny a lot of calls, but I just do my thing. And
are you hotel bound the whole time, or do they have dorms and shit over there?
So over there, I'm actually staying with my friend, Joshua Augustine. I'm gonna stay on his little futon, which I think I might buy an extra futon for him, but because his thing's like a rock.
See the sacrifice that again, man, a lot of people don't know that fighters go through. Like just to hear you, say all that and trying to balance it all out, and you're gonna sleep on a futon for fucking 6 weeks.
I'm a person who's I always mess around with my manager. When I tore my MCL, he would come in to I couldn't walk for 2 weeks, so he's like, come in the little piss can. He would I'm gonna dump that out for you, and then he'd come back. He's like, you need anything? I was like, oh, just some love and affection. And he's like, go fuck yourself, Shorty, and just lock the door. I'm like, So for me, I'm a person who thrives on like physical touch, love and affection, all that stuff. Words of affirmation, but I don't get that. But I'm like, that's the sacrifice I need to give, but also understand that I don't need it from anybody else. It'd be nice, and I'm going to love it when I get it, but let me give myself the words of affirmation. Let me go in the gym, and when people say, like you're saying, dude, that fucking work was great, but that's because also I've been putting so much time in the gym that people don't see to that one moment where you saw sparring, and that's just a regular day. you know, but I want to get that where I can use it inside the cage, be mentally there, 100% mentally there. Because again, Max Holloway did the interview with Joe Rogan talking about once you get to a certain level, everyone has the 8 limbs, everyone has talent, everyone's better, stronger, this, that.
Right.
But it's who can show up.
Right.
And that's what matters most. I mean, Amanda Nunes, when she lost to Juliana Pena the first time, it's like,
yeah, she was not there.
You can tell she wasn't there.
Yeah.
That was for me in my Alex Perez fight. I'm like, man, it just wasn't there. Could he have still beat me? Probably, for sure. But I also won't know until maybe the rematch ever, happens. So for me, it's like I want to be mentally there, so I don't have to say woulda, shoulda, coulda. If you beat me, man, hey, this is part of the sport. It just so happens it really messes up our career compared to like a football game.
Question: with all this balancing act that you're doing, and what happened with your dad, and,
like,
so on and so
I'm a
forth.
good juggler.
How often are you talking to your mom?
Man, the crazy thing about that is like we talk, but growing up, I was raised by my mother. So she would more vent to me, try to make me the gentleman that I am today and do this and do that. So I'm definitely a mother's boy, a mother's child. Compared to my brother was my father's child. And you always want the opposite. You always want things you never had or can't have. I don't know. It's just life.
Basketball players want to be rappers. Rappers want to be ball players.
Tyron Woodley wants to be a rapper. I get it,
Right.
So it's the thing you can't have. So for me, when I was a kid, it was always my mom. Everything was well. We would talk for the most part. But I would more than likely just listen. And then as I got older, my relationship with my father grew, especially as I started to become a professional and stuff like that. So we grew and everything was great. When he passed away, by the time he passed away, we were best friends. I'd call him every day. We'd figure shit out. So especially when he passed, I'm like, yo, this is really the only guy I vent to that we would have conversation. Or he would just shut up and let me talk, and I'm just like, damn, I don't have anybody. And eventually when I started to like lose everyone that I really wanted, I was like, you know what, let me call my brother. Let me call my mom. My brother and I talk, but he more vents. I'm like, oh, I called a vent. Now, I don't know. I'm listening to him talk. And my mom, because my brother doesn't have anybody, so I'm his venting mechanism. My mom, she raised me to be very independent. So naturally, when we call each other, it's almost like a business meeting. We're like, hey, how you doing? You got some mail? What are you going to do today at 5? You going to go out for dinner? No? Well, hey, I love you. I hope you have a good day. And then click, and it's like, damn, I called to talk a little bit, but okay, so I wouldn't say it's an awkward thing, but
I hear you,
it can only, we're still very close, but we're so independent that, like, I remember even trying to hug her one time when my father passed away, and I was like, I can tell I'm her, so I'm like, I can tell you're being super strong. I'm not trying to cry in front of people either, so I remember, like, holding her, and I was like, fuck it, let me just let the waterworks out. And I start crying, and I'm just kind of like, in my head, I'm like, is she crying? Is she crying? And she's just like, all right, hey, wipe your tears, go ahead, do your thing. I'm just like, damn it. She's, being a mother, which is great, but I'm like, Mom, it's okay to use me as a crutch sometimes.
She's the Puerto Rican or the
No,
Mexican?
she's the Mexican.
She's the Mexican.
She's the strong, independent Mexican woman, like, I don't need a man, I don't need this, I'm going to do myself and do what I need to do, and take care of her family. That's
it's crazy how genetically predisposed Mexicans are to that. Yeah. Like, it's very inexplicable, It's kind of like Russians and the tough bringing that they have because of the way they are, but it builds a certain type of individual.
Dude, they don't complain. They just go to work. That's it. Like, they obviously can't complain, but they're still fucking doing the work, doing whatever they need to do, and that's my mom. So...
Is she still busy working? Is she retired?
No, she's working. She's 60 years old. I think she'll be 61 this year, which is crazy to say, but she definitely looks like she's 45. She's very fit.
That's
still
awesome.
Runs
Good.
5 miles every day. Like, she's...
Oh, that's
for
great.
60 years old, man. She's active. And it's also funny because she's 60, I'm 30, and we both... So for me, when I would bring a girl home, it was my relationship. I had a 5-year relationship, then a 7-year relationship. So I've only had relationships. So even while dating, I'm used to giving love instead of just like, oh, you're pretty cool, let's do whatever, and kind of go from there. I'm used to everything, straight up front. Mm-hmm. My mom obviously was with my father for like 30 plus years. So when I started like dating, she goes, oh, who's this new girl? I was like, I don't want to introduce her to you. She goes, why? I was like, because you'll get attached. You'll be like, oh, it's the next one, the next big one, and then it goes from there. And then now my father obviously passed away, so she has that excuse, but I'm just like, oh, what are you doing tonight? She goes, oh, I'm going to go out with this guy. I'm just like, and so both her and I are always kind of like, you motherfucker, because she likes my ex. Obviously, I miss my father, so it's just like, all right. It's just like, all right, Mom, just send me your location, be safe, do all this stuff.
Slightly awkward.
Yeah, it's slightly awkward, but it's just funny.
I mean, you have to understand and respect each other's space, and she's seeing her young son bloom into a more mature man who's handling things differently. And I mean, damn, you were in 2 long-ass relationships. Holy fuck.
So 16.
You definitely earned the right to wild out a little bit. And fucking
16 to like 27, 28. And yeah, 2 back-to-back relationships. But the crazy thing about that, so my mom went out one day. I'm at a carnival with my friends back at home. And my mom went out and she got drunk, whatever. She's doing her thing. I get a message request on Instagram from a person I don't follow. And the name was like Miss Rose or whatever. I'm like, okay, well, who's this? And it's like, hey, I'm with your mom right now. I just want to let you know she's awesome and we're keeping her safe. I'm like, what the fuck? And she sends me a picture and it's like 3 beautiful women and then my mom and they're like, and I'm like, what the hell? And basically the way she was talking like to me, I was like, is my mom trying to set me up?
Oh, you think that's what it was?
Yeah.
She wasn't just talking about her lovely son. No,
the girl was like in her late 30s, early 40s, whatever. But I was like, damn, my mom's trying to hook me up. That's awesome.
That's one thing my mom has not tried to do. Bless her heart, because she knows how fucking picky I am.
Yeah.
And if she were to attempt it, she would have to be as picky as I am because she knows how picky I am. And she's giving me shit about it, but she's never attempted. My mom doesn't meet enough people to try to do that. So,
But it's reasonably, like, it's a good thing to be picky. It's funny because I was thinking about that too, where like I'm dating, obviously dates don't go as well as I hope for. And I'm like, man, this girl wasn't this girl wasn't that. I had high expectations, but that's a good thing. If people don't meet your expectations, don't dumb yourself down because all you're going to get back is bullshit. The whole time you're just going to be upset. So why even waste the time with it? I've let a lot of, like, not just females, but like friends go too, where I'm like, yo, again, you can lead the horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. So when we talked about women bringing up, their past traumas, whether you're dating a guy or just you're the rebound or whatever, man, I've gone on dates where everything's cool and girls like, oh, so what do you what do you want to do in life? I'm like, honestly, my big goal is, family and kids. And some girls like, why the fuck would you want family and kids? You have I drive a Land Rover. She's like, you drive a beautiful car. You are you a good looking guy. You travel the world. You do this, you do that. You're always on TV. Why the fuck would you want to be single? I'm pretty sure you got girls all over you. I was like, damn, your past guy definitely cheated.
Yeah.
Holy shit. So I was like, man, I just got here, So it's crazy where that's why I say I could say now I'm ready for a relationship. Obviously I can't do it, but I can say mentally I'm ready for a relationship because I went through all that bullshit to where if I do go with somebody else, I'm not bringing up my ex all the time. I'm not bringing up random shit or traumas and putting their past mistakes on this new person that is, pretty much innocent the entire time, right, until they do something.
Mission PT Rehab and Recovery is your one-stop shop for all physical therapy and wellness needs. Our licensed physical therapists provide customized hands-on treatments for all sports injuries, accidents, workers' comp, and more. No doctor prescriptions required for the first 30 days. Mission PT has one-on-one personal training for sports-specific needs, as well as general weight loss and strengthening. We are conveniently located steps from Dadeland Mall. Call today for your free 30-minute consult, 786-409-5589. That's 786-409-5589. Mission PT, perform at your best.
But yeah, man, I mean, we're in some weird times. I'm sure this gets said every era. We're in some weird times when it comes to this dating game. You have this unnecessary feminist movement going on. You have guys who they want to be more vulnerable. They want to open up, but they don't. And all kind of shit in between. Dude, did you even realize, I'm not a news guy, by the way. I'm gonna switch fucking gears right now. I don't watch the news. I don't like to hear about all the negativity always going on, the shootings, this fuck coming from Chicago. That's all you guys got going on, right? But there was a news clip that was huge. It was viral. That's why I caught it, because it was on YouTube. Dude, a fucking alien ship, a UFO, a UAP.
Oh, you were going to tell me about that.
Yes, okay. So in Las Vegas, the naysayers are going to talk the shit all they want to talk. Just watch. It's going to develop. A couple things happened at one time. One, there was a cop who was addressing an issue while in Vegas. His chest cam is on. You can see way down the street. You can see the skyline in the background, but it's dark. It's dark. It's nighttime. And then you see what looks like a bright blue comet, like a comet that's about to crash, but without the trail, without the flame trail. Mm-hmm. So it's like a solid blue light, almost cartoonish. It's just going, and you can't see no crash or anything. So a cop caught that on his chest cam. Body cam. Then there was a phone call shortly after that to the police department in Las Vegas. And it sounds like sounds like a Mexican kid who speaks pretty good English. And he's like, Don't quote me word from word, but I'm not making this up, bro. I wish I had somebody to bring it up on the screen right now. We haven't found that person yet.
Yeah.
Listen, hey, yes, I want to report something crashed in our backyard. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but I'm not making this up. Like, it's like a spacecraft. And two things came out of it, but they're not like human. They're like big creatures, like 8-10 feet tall and huge eyes. One of them's looking right now at me. Like, this is, I know this sounds crazy. I know it's bogus, but and the lady, the dispatcher's like, okay, so two suspects are in your backyard. Isn't it? So she obviously reports to the cops. The cop who got the call, who's supposed to go, he admits it later on, and you can hear him admitting it, and he talks about it. He thought, this is some lunatic shit.
Yeah.
I'm not going to waste my time. This is, I need to do cop shit. So he was going to call some, like, I don't know who it is, discovery people, investigative people to go handle that. But then his partner calls him and says, hey, man, are you the one who's going to go do that call? He's like, yeah, but I'm going to go ahead and brush it off and tell whoever to go, visit these wackos. He goes, well, I don't know, bud. I saw that fucking flash. Mm-hmm. He goes, what? He goes, yes. While I was doing a traffic stop, I saw the flash, and I think I got it on my camera. Wow, well, you know what? Let me go see what's up then. So the cop goes and talks to the people and interviews them. Dude, the dude got the willies. He didn't even want to go to the backyard. The cop goes, nah, that's not my pay grade, man. That shit gives me the EBGBs. I'm going to call the next people in charge to go figure out what's next. All that just happened. I need to ask you, first of all, what are your beliefs when it comes to extraterrestrials?
I mean, you got to think about it. At least my perspective is, if we're alive, why can't other planets or other galaxies? Because we've discovered other galaxies and other planets outside, our Milky Way, realm. So it's like, why wouldn't there be stuff? We already found other planets that are just as habitable as ours, just in different galaxies that will never, at least at this moment in our lifetime, never be able to reach. So it's like, why wouldn't there be? Plus, with all the different species that we have on this planet, what's it to say that other species don't need what we need and they can survive, in different atmospheres? So it's like, I personally say, why not? Obviously with the things that happen in my life, your life, and just how this life has gone in general, it's like, there's a lot of things I didn't expect, didn't believe, and out of nowhere happened anyway. So it's like, it wouldn't, it doesn't go past me to say that there haven't been extraterrestrials here before.
Right.
Especially was the Area 51 and all this stuff. Yeah. It's like,
So now look what else just happened, right? And again, my YouTube channel, when I not my channel, I mean when I turn on my TV and when I go to YouTube, because that's all I watch.
I was gonna say, especially talking about it, like Google picks it up. It's like,
yeah. Well, no, I guess the algorithm is gonna feed you what you look into, and if you watch it too long, they're gonna give you more videos. So here comes another one. It's not a crash landing or anything. It's this guy who was a super high-ranking official. You can look him up. He's on there. You can see all the pictures. He's been with the fucking our Department of Defense. I don't know what for the longest time. Whatever. The dude's a whistleblower now. He's the most famous whistleblower right now, next to Snowden. And he just said it. This all happened like 3-4 days ago. And he says on News Nation. Shout out to News Nation. He says he for sure hasn't verified it himself, but top officials who are willing to come forward and admit this and to say that, yeah, he's right, I did tell him that. Mm-hmm. Top officials who worked it, saw it, heard about it, saw a video, whatever. He has verified that we have multiple, he did a number, about 12 spacecrafts in our possession that they have never disclosed to the world. And they won't even tell their own president. Like, this is secret. Like, we're talking about some real Men in Black bullshit that is just so secretive. But the dude is blowing the whistle, and he says, yeah, man, from 12, if I'm not mistaken. And he says when it all starts, some of them crashed, some of them parked. They asked him, well, that doesn't happen by themselves. Are we talking about orbs, or were there people driving it? He goes, yes, there was beings driving it, yes. And they're like, do they have the beings' bodies? He's like, yes, they have beings' bodies as well. I don't want to go any further and say that more to it. I think he wanted to say that there's some live ones and we're talking to them, but he didn't want to go that far. Yeah. Anyhow, it's huge. It's bananas. What does that do to the world? Like, what would that do to your thought? Are you a religious guy?
I'm not a religious guy.
Do you pray at all?
I'm not gonna say yes and no, because I wouldn't say that I haven't gone through some shit where I haven't gotten on my knees and looked up and go, why, you know.
Right.
So I try to live as you know, prosperously as I can, you know, as positive as I can with some type of moral code, but I don't live my life by a book.
So this wouldn't throw you off then, because you know this type of stuff will throw religious communities off.
Yeah.
It has to. What are you going to say about that? It's not in your Bible. Is it a god? Is it a demon? Is it a blah, 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 blah? So what does this do to your beliefs when you soak it in a little bit more? Like, God damn, a spacecraft, and now this guy's blowing whistle. Like,
well, that I think that's the hard part about religion, is that you have to, if you are an extreme whatever, you know, you have to follow whatever book you're reading, and that's the hard part. Is I remember when, you know, I used to do Bible study when I was a kid, and, you know, my friends kind of like trapped me. They're like, oh, we're going to play basketball. And then the last hour is like Bible study. I'm like, damn it, I just came here for the free basketball snacks. You know, it's like, you sons of bitches got me. And it was cool. Like, obviously learn good morals and positive stuff. But when it's like, it limits me from doing what I want to do, then I was like, you know, I'm going to live my life by some of the positive things, but if it's limiting me, I'm not going to do this. You know, I get it for that perspective. Right. That's just not the lifestyle I want to live. For me, when I hear about aliens and this, that, I'm like, again, when we're talking about rolling with the punches, I'm like, oh, well, cool, another obstacle. I think it's a positive thing, because whatever technology they have, obviously, they're more advanced than us to be able to get here. So it's like, hopefully, we can use some of that technology and integrate in our real-life society. The only bad part is I feel like whatever, since it hasn't been disclosed, it's just being used for weapons, you know, behind the scenes, or war scenes, stuff like that, because that's super profitable. So that's what I believe. But that's the shitty part about, you know, our society, is like, whatever can gain us more power, we're going to keep until we can finally use it.
As an anime fan that you are, and a lot of people are, I'm not. I mean, I think it's cool, it looks cool and all that, but I've just never been into it.
It's just like adult cartoons, pretty much.
Yeah, that is true. What are some weird quirks about you, or things that people don't know that you typically don't?
Well, see, that's the bad thing, is I'm so open naturally.
That's
like,
good.
That people will be like,
they already know.
You know, especially because it's Sunday question day. Like, they'll ask, again, we talked about mental traumas. We talked about why I watched anime, why, even why I started fighting Power Rangers, Dragon Ball Z, Goku, all these different role models. You know, for me, I think the biggest thing is just figuring out what I like and what maybe could even be a trigger. Anime, some of that stuff has gotten to me. Like, I remember watching Neon Evangelion, or was it Neon Genesis Evangelion? There you go. It's a super hard name, but it's pretty much about like kids with PTSD. Like, they're forcing kids to fight a battle for somebody else. And it's a lot of religions behind the scene, but like, while watching it, the main character is a person that's just a pleaser, you know, and I'm relating to him because I talked about spreading myself too thin. I'm always trying to help and please people. The kid doesn't love himself. He was spreading himself too thin, where like he would go through panic attacks, mental issues, and he was just saying yes and now hurting himself more and more to where it was only negative reinforcement. I learned that the hard way in college, where my coach is always like, you're going to be this, shut the fuck up, you're going to do that. And he was the drill sergeant pretty much. And that's when I found out, I'm like, holy fuck, I can't do negative reinforcement. Like, that's just, pet me and call me a good boy. I'm a fucking dog. Like, this makes me feel good. It makes me want to work harder for you. I'm a natural pleaser. So if you can, like, motivate me in a happy way, I want to make you happy, you know? But if you treat me like shit, go fuck yourself. And the only hard part is when I say go fuck yourself, it actually might hurt me too, because I have no motivation to help, you know, in a certain aspect. So I learned that from that show. I was like, holy shit, I'm not a, you know, negative reinforcement type of guy. So
when you fight, what kind of pre-hype? What do you like for those couple of hours before? Because I tell my fighters, hey, I'm not that, you know, hype you up, huge pep talk. Like, the work is done. We did the work. I just want you to stay focused. I want you to visualize. I want you to whatever. But I ask them, do you need that type? Are you that type? If you are, I can crank up. Yeah. I can surround us with those who would do that. There's nothing for me to get hype. I'm a fucking high energy guy, but I'm just not that. It's your fucking time. Go feed your kids. This guy's trying to take food off your plate. I don't get the fuck out of here. You know, I'm not that guy. I'm like, nah. You know what you got to do. You know what the job is. Stay focused. Make sure you listen to your corner. What else do you need? What about you?
So I would like to say I'm a very empathetic guy, so I pick up on people's emotions. Obviously, I know if you're nervous. I know if that person's nervous, or I could tell. But with their you know, mannerisms and stuff like that. But for me, I need just positivity. Like, let's have fun in the back. Dude, I'm about to go get my ass kicked no matter what. So let's just have fun in the back. I don't want I'm not a serious person, even though obviously my life is serious, this and that, and I can be serious when I need to be, but let me enjoy this before I go in there, because I don't want to be in there. I just have to do my fucking job, and then once it's done, let's go have donuts and do this and do that. Let's be serious when the fight matters most. So for me, there was one fight I took my nutritionist nutrition. And I was fighting Pedro Nobre. He was 18-2. I already won the belt for Titan FC, and I called out the next guy in line. I'm only 3-0, but I called out 18-2 Pedro Nobre because he was that highlight. I looked up to Manny Pacquiao, where he defended the belt multiple times, won up multiple weight classes, and fought the best of the best. That's what type of legacy I want. If I lose, I lost to the best. That's, commendable compared to I just lost some scrub. Oh, damn, I fucked up. Right. So I'm in the back, and everyone's for sure nervous. My coach, Master Bob Shermer, knows me. So if I'm in a positive state, he's in a positive state. And my nutritionist is like, he's been with John Jones, Anthony Pettis, Johnny Hendricks, all these UFC champion level guys where they're super serious in, different aspects, but they're drilling, they're doing stuff in the back. And me, I'm not doing anything. I'm on my knees, I'm stretching, I'm kind of doing this, doing that. And I'm main event. So I'm hours just chilling there. And he comes up to me, he goes, "Hey man, you gonna do anything? You need any help? I'm gonna stretch you out." I'm like, "No, I'm good." He's like, okay. I ended up winning the fight in the 86-second knockout. And he's like, "Dude, what the fuck?" I was like, "I'm just a chill person. If I'm at peace, having fun and doing me, like right. That's all we did was talk smack in the back.
That's dope.
If I can have a good time, I'm happy going in there. But if I don't go in there with a smile, there's a problem." And the two fights, technically, one is an amateur and one is a pro, that I've coincidentally didn't go in there with a smile, I lost. So it's like that plays a huge factor. I look at it as, if I'm not going in there having fun at my job, which involves me getting beat up, then why am I even doing it? So I want to go in there having a smile and going and having a good time. But the opposite factor for me is, once I walk in, you'll see me walk into the cage like, yeah. Once I walk in, it goes blank face. Boom. It's almost like a movie where it's like, yeah, and it just does this. And I'm like, people are like, "Yo, what the fuck happened?" And then there's almost no expression until the fight's over. So it's a big game changer for me, because I kind of go on autopilot, where it's like, cool, let me let my alter ego out for whatever duration of the fight, and then that's it. My next fight being 25 minutes, it comes out for 25 minutes, and then deuces, go back in your cage.
I love that aspect about fighters, how everybody's so different and how they channel that energy. Some need the build up because they're too nervous. Some need the rage. They want to feel like, I got to kill this guy. I got to dig deep, and I got to make it seem like this dude is going to ruin my career, and I need to break his fucking neck. And some are just there to do the job. They're locked in, like super focused. And then you got the ones who are beyond you with the having fun. They're literally having fun throughout the fight. They're fucking smiling. Kevin Holland, people like that. I love to see all that, And I know some people will say like, well, that's why Kevin Holland has lost several of his last fights. Well, he also won a lot.
Yeah, but he's done all this.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's amazing how people try to find that method of dealing with the madness, because you're talking about chaos, dog. You're talking about two motherfuckers going in the cage in front of the world,
I've had 40, this would be, I believe, my 40th MMA fight, going in from amateur and pro. So it's like, I've had tons of experience, and kickboxing and Muay Thai and 100 in wrestling. So I've had experience to go, all right, this method didn't work. Cool, let's try this. That didn't work.
Right. Makes sense.
There's days where, I do all the same things, and maybe I don't get the same feeling. And there's some days where, like, I do everything and I'm spot on. So it just depends on the circumstances. But for me, I'm I kind of feed off people's energy. So if everyone's good, awesome. But no matter what, I've learned there's no more excuses. Whatever happens, happens. Again, when I talked about the Alex Perez fight, I remember talking about it for maybe about 2 years when I was still going through my shit. I was just like, man, because of this I lost, because of that I lost. There was always an excuse. I don't know what he was going through. Maybe his father died too. Maybe, this shit, that, whatever was happening. I don't know what he was going through, but he still showed up. And then years later I see Khabib fighting. Given there was 8 months, I give him the little bit of grieving time compared to me, 3 weeks. But it's like, I get your father was there every day. My father was at home, and I get to call him every day. There's a big difference.
Right, of course.
But then after, you still show your emotions. That showed how much you still had to go through, especially being such a big name like Khabib. I'm pretty sure people are messaging him, my condolences, this, that, and he's still pushing through it. No matter what, at the end of the day, it's on you. It's not your fault. It's not that. I used to blame everyone, but that was also, again, not trying to blame myself and realize like, oh shit, it really is just me. You ever be like, oh, you ever figure out maybe you're the problem?
Exactly.
It's like, oh shit, no, actually it was me, my bad.
Yeah.
And actually when it came to a lot of the realization of figuring out who I was, especially in my last relationships with other people in general, I was just like, oh fuck, I guess it was me. That's what they were talking about the whole time, my bad. So I had to figure out what worked for me, what didn't, and how to overcome my triggers, my traumas, all that stuff, and even use that as my strength.
This I think applies in life. This isn't just for fighters. You figure those things out in your late 20s, 30, early 30s, because by then you've gone through enough experiences.
We hope.
Yes, exactly. We hope. That is well said, because if you haven't, there's a reason. Your dumbass is prolonging this. Maybe you're too stubborn. Maybe. But for those who have had at least a relationship or two before these 30s, heartbreak or two before these 30s, struggles, up and downs, highs and lows, things of that nature, you start figuring shit out in your 30s or going into the 30s, typically, aside from those who don't. And then you formulate. And then that's when that's when you redirect yourself, or just you adjust to life, and then you proceed forward. And hopefully your adjustment is a wise one, because much like you just said, sometimes people don't, and they're too stubborn. They don't have the right people around them to help them become better versions of themselves,
It's a crazy thing. Like, what do they say? It's like a lion hangs out with other lions. He doesn't go hang out with hyenas and different stuff. So it's hang out with the positive people that are trying to get you somewhere. For me, my upbringing, I had my dad, I had my brother, great guys, but weren't the best role models. So for me, was the people in the gym, even though they weren't, in a sense, where I wanted to lead, they were like, you know what, let's take you to this direction. This is the way you should go, because we went left, it didn't work, you should go right. And my brother was that positive reinforcement, so was my dad, but being inside the gym was forcing me to be around people that are trying to be positive, trying to change their life, whether they've been in prison, whether they fucked up and did this, did that. They were like, man, we don't want you to do this, Shorty, we want you to do more. So for me, when it comes to all the traumas, it's like, man, if I'm a jealous person and I go hang out with other jealous people, man, we're just feeding into the jealousy and having those conversations all the time. Or how many times have you had friends where you're like, all you're doing is just gossiping? It's like, damn, am I the shit talker? Damn, I guess I've been the hater the whole time. When I'm talking about haters, like, I'm talking shit. So I'm obviously the hater. So it's like, I had to kind of, push, I wouldn't say push people away, but it's like, oh, I'm going to hang out with you less. You're cool.
I get it.
But let me hang out with people. I listened to Flex Lewis's podcast with Wes Watson, and oh man, he's like, frequency is what you frequently see, and he goes, my frequency is what I frequently see, so it's only positive people. I don't want to fuck with anybody else. When people say, I'm having a bad day, he goes, okay, well, cool. If you don't mind, go have your bad day over there, because I'm not trying to deal with that shit. I'll help you, I'll vent, whatever. But if you're not trying to push through and you just want to have a petty party, it's like, I'm not gonna fuck with it. So for me, it's like, I'm just trying to hang out with positive people. That's why when we talked about talking to Dean or talking to positive people, it's like, maybe, I'm not saying for sure, but maybe you've been through it. Let me put out my 2 cents and see, this is my dilemma. Can you give me some 2 cents back? And there's that equivalent exchange where it's like, for Dean, maybe, it is hard for him to give me that advice, but even for him, he has his son. He's like, you know what? Shorty's older than my kid. Maybe my son might go through some type of adversity with this. Fuck it. At least this is good practice for me too. To where if it goes good or bad, at least hopefully the next time it can go better for my son.
Those are great words, and I think that's a great way to finish this podcast. I mean, positivity, energy is a real thing. You want to surround yourself with the right type of energy, which comes from the right type of people. You got to know when to say when. You got to know when to walk away. Too many people are not afraid, but they just don't know how to break off.
It's hard to let go. It's fucking super hard, but that's also part of the process. I say two things to end it. I'm a judoka, so I'm a black belt in judo. The biggest thing is, and especially with hip throws, if you hold on, the wheel continues. I always call judo, if holding on is like a heart. So it's like, if the love is strong and you hold on, awesome, that heart's gonna stay strong. The only problem is it's gonna keep on rolling, so it's gonna be topsy-turvy. So if you want to land on top, what do? You let go. So sometimes you just gotta fucking break that heart, and there's no more roll. So you stop. Also, with that being said, whether you're trying to be great in your profession, you're trying to be just great in life, trying to be a great human being, you need the best you. For me, I'm not trying to be the best athlete in the world. I'm trying to be the best me in the world, because I know, with that being said, if I can show up, I'm going to be one of the best in the world. Maybe not the best, but, dude, that's fucking great. If I can get to that pinnacle right there, awesome. I've seen me perform at my best.
Right.
But if I'm not mentally there, I'm not even gonna be in the contest.
And that's great. We were talking about relationships early. People should do the same thing before they go into relationships. Make sure you're the best version of you in order to bring that into a relationship and let the relationship bloom from that.
Yeah, plus I don't want to be a piece of shit to somebody and now they're talking other shit and now they're ruining my game to talk to other people. Like, fuck, So for me, I want to be like, if I hang out with the female, I want to be like, you know what? Maybe we didn't work out, but damn, that was a dope guy. Hopefully my next guy is kind of like him, but what I would like.
Yeah, not hate on you, not think all kind of dumb shit. Of course, I love that too. I think I got a great, I know I got a great track record on that. None of my exes are going to talk shit about me. I
always be like, hey, what's my Yelp review? And they're like, what? Like, no, seriously. Was it good? Was it bad? This, that, yada, yada, yada. So...
Jose, tell everybody where they can follow you out on Instagram and any other social media handles, your websites. I know you had a fun
my own foundation. Yeah. So Team Shorty Foundation, if people want to donate, I have the link in my bio to Fighters Exchange. Any shirt I sell through their page, 100% of the proceeds go to my foundation. Also, you can go to teamshorty.com and there's a donation link if people want to support. All the money goes to kids, teens, and young adults to stay inside the gym and off the streets, like we were talking about, where man, I don't have the best role models in the streets, so let me stay inside the gym, and I'm forced to be in this scenario, and it's gang members, it's guys that have been in prison, it's guys who've done some bad shit that are trying to change their lives too. Maybe you've gone through the same thing. Let me try to help you. So with that being said, it helps all those 3 different generations. Some people graduate college or you don't even get a chance to go to college. They're like, man.
And those links are in your bio of Instagram, which is?
Jose Shorty Torres. And Shorty Torres MMA for both Facebook and Twitter. And just in general, I do a Sunday question day every Sunday. If people want to ask any personal questions, they're more than welcome to message me directly or even just on Sunday question day and put it out there so I can help with the people.
I see you doing big things, bro. I love your energy. I'm so glad we were able to, cross paths at the gym and make this happen. I didn't think this landed in my lap. I was like, Shorty, what's up? Y'all, let's do it. Awesome, we're here. You're a great influence, brother. You spread a lot of positive energy, and I love that about you. Your work ethic is amazing. I saw your skills. I've already seen your skills, but damn, watching it in the cage that day, I was like, holy shit, Shorty's on another level. And I can't wait to see your fight. I continue following your career. Right now, we're going to get some grub. Maybe, I don't know if you're drinking yet. Maybe have a couple of drinks. And then we're going to watch these UFC fights and have some fun. Guys, make sure you go show your support to Shorty Torres. Thank you for showing your support to the Black Sheep Perspective. Don't forget to visit the blacksheepapparel.shop if you want to get your gear. And be ready for all these aliens that are landing, man. Love, peace, and hair grease, guys. Peace.